Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is week numero 9 here at the LEG Fantasy Football League. I'm your host and commissioner, John David Bray. Good to see you again. Yes, thank you. Studio audience is wild today. Another big week in the NFL. A lot of teams, a lot of upsets last week. Let's start. The 49ers are now 0-3 in their last game, and they are on a skid after looking like Super Bowl contenders. A lot of panic there. What's up with Brock Purdy? Has he finally been found out? People around the league have been saying that they haven't seen San Francisco take a dive this hard since Gavin Newsom ran over a Chinese kid in a pickup basketball game. Look at this video. I can't get it. Another shocking outcome is the Tennessee Titans, without their starter, turned to rookie Will Levis and beat the Falcons with an impressive 4-touchdown debut for the rookie. Apparently so impressive that Gia Duddy is now back with Will Levis after ditching him in the bathroom at the NFL draft. I think that happened. I don't know. Sounds like she's the one that fumbled the bag. Okay, let's get to the scores. Enough with the bad monologue jokes. Here's the scores from last week in a pivotal Week 8 mid-season report. The Shookster goes down to the Red Hot Jabrili Peppers. JD gets the win, moves into first place at 6-2, 189-133. Dan Nickel gets a huge win over Dak Street Boys. Looks like that trade didn't pay off, but they definitely produced, shockingly. 204 points to 175. Purdy Little Liars, the other team that scored 200 points, the highest scoring team this week, beats John Dahlgren 208 to 169. Dave Plow now moving into second place, beating up on a beaten down Cook Goose for Everyone team, as Mick has now lost 3 in a row after starting 5-0. 145 to 113. Dr. Anu is crawling his way back up with another big performance, 193 to 173 over Jabil's Modelo Virus. That was an upset, as we talked about last week. And look who is nipping at the heels of everyone. Joe Murdoch gets a big win over Working for Mahomes. Yes, he's 3-5, but he scored 191 points to 138. He's now the third highest scoring team in the league. Woo! So teams are catching fire at the right time. It's not too late. Like I said, we still have half a season left, so we don't have any time to waste. We have no special guests today, so let's go to the rundown real quick, and the commish will give you his preview for Week 9. All right, well, let's start with a doozy. This is by far the most pivotal game this week. 6-2 Red Hot Jabrili Peppers versus 6-2 Rocky Bitches. JD versus Plow. LEG, game of the week. Not a must-win, but a very important win for either of these teams to stay atop of the league. Again, one of them is going to lose. One of them is going to move to 7-2. Let's look at the roster for Plow. It is all about Lamar Jackson. He is the key to success for him in a game where he's going to be without Amon-Ra St. Brown and Javonte Williams and Courtland Sutton. A lot of buys on that squad. Can Lamar Jackson make up for the players that he's going to sub in there? At this point, I have no idea who's going to sub. And then let's go over to the Red Hot Jabrili Peppers. Didn't start him. Wish I did. Joe Burrow looks like he is back, putting on a heck of a performance against my 49ers, scoring almost 40 points against that Niners defense that now looks like it seems it's got some cracks in it. But Joe Burrow is going to need to produce again against the Buffalo Bills, and that's always a great game. Cincinnati and Buffalo here recently. I think that's the big key for Joe Burrow to produce in order to get the win. Not a whole lot of bye issues for Red Hot Jabrili Peppers. My goodness, we got to talk about Tyreek Hill. I mean, the number one overall wide receiver, running back, tight end. He leads all players non-QB in points, having a heck of a season, taking on Kansas City, his former team. It's pretty much going to be the Burrow and Hill show. I like me this week. And I'm projected to only score 133 points. I like to move that to 160 to like 140 for Plow. I think he'll get a really good performance at Lamar Jackson. Let's go to the next game. We've got Dan Nickel taking on Working from Mahomes. This is projected to be close. Now, this is a must-win for Barris, Working from Mahomes. As I mentioned earlier, Kansas City taking on Miami. Miami will give up some points, and Patrick Mahomes had a garbage game last week. He needs to bounce back to bring Adam to the promised land. Again, there's buys this week and not really hurting him other than George Kittle, who's just, up and down anyways. But I think Taysom Hill's a nice play there. You know what? That actually might be the key for victory this week is Taysom Hill, as he's getting a lot more looks in the backfield, throwing the ball, catching the ball, running the ball. He ran all over the Colts. That was terrible. Dan Nickel, my key to his win, if he can get a win and overcome the projections, he is projected to lose 133 to 137. He is going to need some production out of Cooper Kupp, who was missing last week. Did not have a good game as they were blown out by the Dallas Cowboys. Only scored 6 points, Cooper Kupp. And Puka didn't do anything either. But he's going to need a big performance out of Cooper Kupp. And inexplicably, Jonathan Taylor was absent in the second half for that Colts game. I don't think that's going to happen again unless there's something going on behind the scenes, which I wouldn't be shocked. But he's going to need big production out of Jonathan Taylor. I think Barris is going to win it this week. This just looks like he's poised to get it. Mahomes is going to bounce back. I am taking Adam Barris this week to get a much-needed win. Let's go over to John Dahlgren. His Clock Gobblers, third place at 5-3, taking on the Dak Street Boys in last place. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So, Dahlgren is projected to win. Doesn't have a lot of bye issues, but he is struggling with injuries. As you can see, starting Goddard and Pickens. My key for him, again, just like every week, it's like which Josh Allen is going to show up. And last week, we got the good Josh Allen, 38 points. He is going to need that again to stay in it because Dak Street Boys has a sneaky roster, Eckler, Pacheco, but I think really his is going to be Davante Adams. Davante Adams needs to put up the big boy points. 2 points on Monday Night Football. 2 points from Davante Adams. That can't happen. He needs Davante Adams to produce. I don't think it's going to be enough. Unfortunately, I think Dahlgren is going to win this one pretty handedly in a low-scoring affair. Now, talking about a skid as of late, Nick Barton, cook goose for everyone, now 5-3 after being undefeated. He is in trouble. He needs a quarterback. He has no quarterbacks that are playing this week. He's taking on Dr. Anurag Reddy, who is going to be without Christian McCaffrey. The 49ers are on bye. So again, as Mick mentioned last week, it's all about Justin Herbert for the doc. We get Jalen Waddle every once in a while, but Justin Herbert, he had 35 points last week. Whenever he scores that many points, it's hard to beat him. He has scored over 30 points only 3 times this season, but still averaging in one of the top QBs in fantasy football. I think it's going to continue against the... No, he's going to have a bad game. He's playing the Jets. The Jets have a pretty good defense. I think he's going to struggle this week, but if he overcomes that, I think Doc wins this one pretty easily. Mick just doesn't have a chance. He's hurting. He's got buys. Keenan Allen against the Jets, it's really going to hurt him because Herbert is throwing to Keenan Allen. I think the Jets are going to lock him down pretty solid. So I'm taking the Doc in this one, and Mick could go 0-4 in the last 4 weeks. Not good. Fields of Gold, Nick Shook. Speaking of on the skids, now down to 3-5 in 10th place, taking on the red hot, insane ground posse, Joe Murdoch, the former champ, defending champ. It looks to pick up an easy win this week as he is not in bye week trouble. He's got his full roster going against a roster burden team with Nick Shook, who's also beat up. I mean, this one I don't think is going to be even close. Again, we're talking about that Miami-Kansas City shootout. So for Joe, obviously, Tua is the man there. And not only that, I mean, Tua's obviously going to put up some points. But let's not forget possible MVP candidate. A.J. Brown has been tearing it up. My goodness, 35 last week, 31 the week before. And this was coming after two 20-plus point performances with a 43-point performance in week 4. He is second only behind Tyreek Hill in all receivers and running backs for points total. He is having one heck of a year. It's not even going to be close. I mean, Joe's projected to win by 60 points. It could be more than that. I don't foresee Nick having a shot. I'm taking Joe Murdoch this week. In the last game for Week 9, it's a real good matchup, a real pivotal matchup. Another hot team, Abalash Ready, Purdy Little Liars taking on Jabel Soul, Modelo Virus. And boy, howdy, Jabel is getting Abby at the wrong time. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb were on fire last week. I look for the Lamb and Dak attack to continue again against Philadelphia. It's a divisional game. It's an important game. Now, it is at Philly, so I don't think they're going to just run away with it. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of passing volume for CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott to try to keep up with the Eagles. That's going to be Abby's key to the game. Now, if Jabel wants to overcome that, which he is projected to win, by the way, I am going to pick Abby, spoiler alert, but Jabel is projected to win with Jalen Hurts on the Eagles performing. That is his number one bread and butter, and just combine that with Jamar Chase. I mean, my goodness, Jamar Chase is back thanks to Joe Burrow. That's going to be his big effort to win. I mean, he did score 26 points last week against the 49ers. And the only question mark I have for Jabel is, Adam Thielen kind of running out. He did have a 15-point game is solid. Now, granted, it was his second lowest, actually tied for his second lowest performance all season. But, when he's scoring 30 and 33, almost every week, that's not a bad problem to have. So, even though Jabel's projected to win this week, I think Abalash is going to take it. He's going to overcome the projections and beat Jabel's team. Jalen Hurts might turn the ball over a little bit. That might hurt his point performance. So I am taking Abalash Ready to beat Jabel. There we go. There's a rundown for Week 9. Hope everyone enjoyed this week's rundown. It was a quick one, but I leave you with this week's moment of cringe.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Hágase una lavadita con triple paella.